Hi, welcome to Working with Inequalities. We're going to take a look at this first inequality, and over on the right hand side I have the less than, greater than, less than or equal to, and greater than or equal to. So the four inequality signs that we're going to be working with, and we're actually going to graph these, which is really fun. So let's take a look at this first equation. I want to get m by itself, and there is a minus 21 over on the right hand side with it, so I'm going to do the opposite, which is add 21. So very much like working with the equations that just have an equal sign. These two cancel each other out. I drop my m down, and then I have to use my rules for combining positive and negative numbers. These are different signs, so I'm going to have to subtract them. And that would leave me 10, and the bigger number is positive, so my answer is going to be positive 10. Now we're going to graph this on a number line. Yes, I hurt my finger, so my cat got a hold of me. He didn't mean to, but so I have a Band-Aid. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to find the number on the number line. So I put 0, and I put the number and its opposite, so it makes it really easy to graph. And now what we're going to do is we're going to find number 10 on the number line, and then we're going to look for the sign up in the box, the red box, and it's this one right here, and it looks like it has a 0 next to it, but actually that's a dot, and it means it's going to have an open circle. An open circle means that it does not include 10 in the answer. It includes the other numbers, but not 10. And we're going to find out what those other numbers are right now. So now I'm going to cover up the 10, and I'm going to just focus on my variable. What do I know about m? Well, it's pointing to the m, and it means that m is less than. If the inequality was open to the m, it would mean that the m was bigger. But this time, if I just focus on m and the inequality sign, I see that m is smaller. And this way is smaller to the left, and bigger is to the right. So m is smaller, so I'm going to come up here from the open circle that I graphed, and I'm going to draw a line that goes to the left. So the numbers less than 10 would be a solution, because 10 is the biggest, but it really doesn't include 10. 10 is greatest, so any number that is less than 10 is going to be a solution. So like, let's say that I took 10 is greater than, say I picked the number -1. Yes, 10 is bigger than -1, so that's a true statement. And this is how you graph the inequality. Let's take a look at another one. In this problem, we have a less than or equal to sign. And so let's go ahead and work with this one. The first thing I want to do is I want to isolate this variable on the left-hand side. Well, it's not by itself. There's a -3. So I'm going to do the opposite and move it to the other side. All right, I'm going to drop this down. Those cancel out. I'm going to drop my inequality sign down, and then I'm going to combine my numbers using my rules for combining integers, and that's going to be -6. Alright, now we want to get n by itself. It's attached to the 6 through multiplication, so to undo that we're going to use division on both sides, and I get n is less than or equal to -1. Okay, now we're going to graph it. Put 0 in the middle, put the number and its opposite. And now we are going to find -1, which is right here. And we're going to look up in that red box for which inequality sign. And it's right here, less than or equal to. And it says to put a closed-in dot. So I'm going to put a closed-in dot this time, because it means that this number is included, because this is an equal sign. So it means that this number is actually going to be included in the solution, unlike the previous problem. Now I'm going to cover up -1, and I'm going to figure out what is n? Is n smaller or is n bigger? Well, again, n is smaller because the mouth is not open. The opening of the inequality sign is not pointing towards the n. So it's smaller, so I come up, and there's my solution. Now, what are some numbers that are smaller than -1? Let's pick -5. So if I picked -5 for n is less than or equal to -1, is -5 less than -1? Yes, that's true. So we solved our equation correctly. All right, let's try another one. All right, let's take a look at this problem. This time we have variables on both sides. I'm going to move the 3a to the other side, to the right. That cancels out. And I'm going to move the 30 to the left. And -8 and +30 is 22. I'm going to drop the inequality sign just like it is. Combine these, and that's going to be +2a. Now I'm going to divide through by 2 on both sides so that I can get a by itself. And we get 11. 11 is greater than a. Now I'm going to graph it. There's 0. Take the number and its opposite. Okay, on 11 there's not an equal sign under the greater than. So it means that it's going to be an open dot. And then if I cover up the 11, tell me about a. Is a smaller? If the mouth is open to a, it's bigger, but it's not. So a is smaller, so I'm going to draw an arrow that goes to the left showing that a is smaller. We'll do a quick check. 11 is greater than, let's pick a number that's smaller than 11. Let's pick 0. Is 11 greater than 0? Yes. So all I did was substitute 0 in for a, and that's true. Let's try another one. Alright, in this problem, we're simply going to get a by itself by dividing both sides by 2. And a is greater than. We're going to use our rules for multiplication and division with negatives. So a is greater than -4. Graph it on the number line. Put 0. Put the number and its opposite. This inequality doesn't have an equal sign, so we are going to make an open circle on -4. Okay, now I'm going to cover up -4 and tell me about a. Is a bigger or is a smaller? A is bigger. So this time we're going to go to the right with our arrow. Let's take a look at a couple more. There's one more little trick I'm going to show you that involves this purple box. Alright, this time there is a second trick with inequalities. The red box is the first one, whether you have an open circle or a closed circle. And this is the second one. So in the purple box it says that you're going to flip the sign if you multiply or divide through on both sides with a negative. N is attached to the -5 through division, so I'm going to do the opposite, which is multiply. So I'm going to multiply both sides by what was attached to n, which was -5. Okay, so that cancels out. I drop n down. Well, I just said if we multiply or divide through by a negative, which we just did, we have to flip the sign. So this is really fun. I get to flip the sign. And now we're going to graph it. We're going to make 0, put that number and its opposite. Okay, this is going to be a closed-in dot on -50 because it has an equal sign underneath it. And then now we're going to cover that up and we're going to look at just n. Is n bigger than or smaller than? And it's bigger. And so it's going to go to the right, and that's my answer. Let's take a look at one more. Okay, in this final problem, we want to get the variable by itself. There's a 6. We're going to do the opposite on both sides. Now we've got the variable term. I'm going to combine these, which is -3. Okay, now we want to get n by itself, so we're going to divide through by -3. So this puts us in the purple box, dividing through by a negative. This cancels out. I drop down my n, but I have to flip my sign. That's 1. We're going to graph it, 0, 1, and its opposite. I'm going to find 1 on the number line. I'm going to put a filled-in circle because it includes, it's equal to 1. Now I'm going to cover up the 1 and tell me about n. Is n bigger or smaller? M's bigger. So I'm going to draw an arrow that shows that all these numbers to the right are a solution. So let's say I picked 8. Is 8, so 8 would be over here somewhere. Is 8, I'm going to substitute that in for M. Is 8 greater than or equal to 1? Yes, it is. It's greater than or equal to 1. So I've solved it correctly. And this is working with inequalities. Thank you so much for watching my video, and be sure to check out my others online.